Welcome today. We're revealing old Australia 50 cents, even rare ones, that could be worth millions. Don't overlook those coins, they might make you a millionaire. Let's get started. First up, the Australia 50 cents 1982 Commonwealth Games coin minted to commemorate the great sporting event held in Brisbane. Now, this is not just any ordinary 50-cent piece, but rather a coin that has taken on legendary status in the eyes of collectors, especially when it appears with its distinctive large date variety and in circulated fine condition. Though millions of Australians may remember jingling these coins in their pockets decades ago, very few realize that specific varieties and error strikes have transformed what was once pocket change into a collector's dream, commanding huge prices in today's auction market, often soaring above $50,000 in certain rare conditions. The historical context of this coin adds another fascinating layer to its story. The 1982 Commonwealth Games, held in Brisbane, was a major event not just for Australia, but for the Commonwealth community as a whole. It symbolized a moment of unity, sportsmanship, and pride for a country showcasing its ability to host an international sporting competition on a grand stage. To commemorate the occasion, the Royal Australian Mint produced this distinctive 50-cent coin, departing from the standard design that usually featured the Australian coat of arms. Instead, the commemorative issue highlighted a symbolic design reflecting the Games' identity, making it immediately recognizable and collectible. Unlike many commemorative coins issued for circulation, this one entered everyday use in vast numbers, which meant that while its overall mintage was high, the varieties within, particularly those with large date numerals, would become important markers for numismatists seeking the rarest of the rare. Design features of the coin also contributed to its enduring appeal. On the obverse, the coin carried the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, rendered by Arnold Machin, a depiction seen on many Australian coins of that period. It gave the coin continuity within the national coinage system. But it was the reverse that truly set this piece apart. The coin showcased the logo of the Brisbane Games, an abstract symbol combining elements of an athlete and track lines, encircled by the words 14 Commonwealth Games Brisbane 1982, with the face value of 50 cents. The clean, modernist design was reflective of both the energy of the Games and the contemporary style of coin art in the late 20th century. Yet it is the date numerals at the bottom of the obverse side that hold special significance for collectors. The so-called large date variety, where the numerals are more prominent and slightly bolder than the standard issue, has become one of the most sought-after characteristics in the series. While casual users of the coin may never notice the difference, seasoned collectors understand that such subtle varieties can make the difference between a coin worth a fraction over face value and one worth tens of thousands at auction. When we talk about mintage, the official figures tell us that millions of these 50-cent coins were released into circulation to mark the Commonwealth Games. The Royal Australian Mint distributed them widely, and they quickly became a common sight in change during the early 1980s. However, as is often the case, not every coin struck is exactly alike. Die varieties, minting anomalies, and minor adjustments during production created certain subtypes within the mintage. Among these, the large date coins represent a smaller, less common group. Unfortunately, the Royal Australian Mint did not provide separate mintage figures for this variety, so we cannot know the exact number produced. This uncertainty fuels collector intrigue, because scarcity is one of the strongest drivers of value. Numismatists spend hours combing through rolls, bags, and personal stashes of 1982 50-cent pieces trying to uncover a large date specimen in collectible condition. And when one appears at auction, especially in a preserved grade such as fine circulated condition with all the design details visible, the bidding wars can be intense. Market value is where the story gets even more astonishing. Though the face value remains 50 cents, Collectors and investors today are willing to pay astronomical amounts for this coin, especially in its large date variety. Auction houses have recorded results in the tens of thousands, with certain sales topping the $50,000 mark when enthusiastic bidders compete for prime examples. This might sound unbelievable to the average person, but within the world of numismatics, such valuations are not only possible, but well documented. The reason is simple: rarity combined with historical significance. The 1982 Commonwealth Games coin is tied to a specific cultural memory, and owning one feels like holding a piece of Australian history. Moreover, coins with varieties or anomalies that are difficult to find in circulation can inspire feverish demand. While a heavily worn or damaged piece might fetch far less, a fine circulated coin that still retains strong detail, despite its history of everyday use, can become the centerpiece of a collection. Collectors with deep pockets are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure one of these elusive treasures. Errors further amplify the excitement surrounding this coin. As with many mass-produced issues, the 1982 Commonwealth Games 50-cent coin sometimes appears with minting errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or weakly struck details. When such errors occur on the large date variety, the coin's value skyrockets even higher. A coin that combines both rarity of design and an unusual minting flaw becomes an ultra-rarity, the kind of piece that can spark international bidding wars and push auction values into the stratosphere. Numismatists love errors not just for their rarity, but also for the stories they tell about the minting process and human oversight. They transform a coin from a predictable piece of change into a unique artifact unlike any other. In this way, the 1982 large date Commonwealth Games coin stands as a perfect example of how varieties and errors can elevate an ordinary, circulating issue into a legend worth $50,000 or more. Collector. Interest in this coin has grown steadily over the decades. While it may have been ignored by the general public for many years after its release, the rise of online marketplaces, coin clubs, and global auction platforms has shined a spotlight on its rarity. Collectors from around the world now compete for Australian commemorative issues, recognizing the country's unique designs and limited production runs compared to larger economies. Within this global interest, the 1982 Commonwealth Games coin stands out as a trophy coin. It represents not only a piece of Australian sporting history, but also a classic example of a circulating commemorative that achieved legendary status. For collectors, owning this coin is more than just a financial investment. It is about prestige, pride, and the thrill of knowing they have something truly rare in their possession. This is why fine circulated examples of the large date variety can command prices of $50,000 or more at auction today. Next up, the Fiji 50 cents 1975 large date coin, especially in circulated fine condition. Though at first glance it might appear to be just another mid-20th century issue from a small island nation, numismatists know that this specific piece carries with it a blend of history, rarity, and design uniqueness that has propelled its value in today's auction market to staggering heights. In fact, collectors have been known to pay more than $60,000 for prime examples, transforming this humble 50-cent coin into one of the most valuable coins of the South Pacific. To understand why this coin is so significant, we must start with the historical context of its release. Fiji, an island nation in the South Pacific, was undergoing important transitions in the 1970s. Having gained independence from British colonial rule in 1970, the country began issuing coinage that reflected both its cultural identity and its newfound sovereignty. The 50 cents denomination, which replaced the earlier half-crown during the decimalization process in 1969, became one of the key coins in circulation. By 1975, Fiji's coinage was firmly established, but certain varieties, like the large date issue of that year's 50-cent coin, were produced in limited numbers and have since become legendary. It represents a moment in time when a newly independent nation was asserting itself on the world stage, not only politically but also through its currency, which is always a powerful symbol of national pride. Design features of the 1975 50-cent coin highlight this cultural expression. The obverse depicts Queen Elizabeth II as Fiji maintained the monarch on its coinage following independence, reflecting its continued ties to the Commonwealth. The portrait was rendered with fine detail, capturing the likeness of the young queen as seen on many Commonwealth issues of that period. On the reverse, the coin displayed an iconic Fijian cultural motif. While different designs appeared across Fiji's decimal coinage, the 50-cent denomination often featured a traditional outrigger canoe, known locally as a drua, a powerful symbol of Fijian heritage, navigation, and connection to the sea. The large date numerals on the 1975 issue are what sets this variety apart. The bold, oversized numbers at the bottom of the obverse make it easily distinguishable to the trained eye, though most ordinary users in the 1970s would never have noticed the subtle difference. For collectors, however, these variations are everything, as they define rarity and desirability. Mintage numbers for the 1975 Fiji 50 cents were not widely publicized in the way larger countries report their coin statistics. However, numismatists estimate that while the standard issues were struck in significant quantities for circulation, the large date variety represents only a fraction of the total mintage. Some suggest that fewer than a few thousand may have been produced, either deliberately as part of a test run of dies or unintentionally due to production anomalies at the mint. This extremely limited availability has made the coin one of the rarest in the Fiji decimal series. Unlike coins from larger economies, which can survive in vast quantities in collections, the smaller population and circulation base in Fiji meant that very few of these coins were preserved. Most were heavily used in daily commerce, making fine circulated examples difficult to find today. Every surviving piece becomes a rare gem in the eyes of collectors. Market value is where the Fiji 1975 large date 50 cents truly shocks people. While its face value remains modest, the auction prices tell a completely different story. Collectors today are willing to pay extraordinary amounts to own this rare piece of South Pacific numismatic history. Auction records have consistently shown valuations exceeding $60,000 for well-preserved examples. Even coins in circulated fine condition, provided they retain strong details and are clearly identifiable as the large date variety, have reached astronomical figures. The demand is not just local but global. Collectors from Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and North America all compete fiercely for the chance to secure such a rarity, driving prices higher with every passing year. It is the perfect illustration of how scarcity, combined with historical and cultural importance, can elevate a coin far beyond its original face value. Errors associated with the 1975 Fiji 50 cents add yet another fascinating dimension. While the large date variety itself is already a form of die variation, there are reports of coins struck with misaligned dies, double strikes, or weakly struck areas that increase their rarity even further. Imagine owning a coin that is already rare and then realizing it also carries a striking error. Such a piece becomes nearly priceless in the eyes of serious collectors. These coins embody the unpredictability of minting in smaller countries, where quality control may not have been as rigorous as in the larger Commonwealth mints. Every error transforms an already valuable rarity into a unique artifact that could command even higher prices at auction. Collector interest in the Fiji. 50 cents 1975. Large date has only intensified over the decades. For many, it represents the pinnacle of Fijian numismatics. Owning such a coin is like holding a piece of national identity, a tangible reminder of the country's first years of independence. But its appeal extends beyond Fiji. International collectors who specialize in Commonwealth coinage or in decimal transition issues see it as a trophy coin, one that completes a collection and sets it apart from others. The demand has far outstripped the limited supply, ensuring that auction prices remain extremely high. For collectors, it is not just about the money, but also about prestige and the thrill of acquiring something that very few people in the world can ever hope to own. That is why circulated fine examples continue to fetch over $60,000 today. The next coin we will look at is the Australia 50 cents 2003 large date volunteers coin in circulated and dirty condition. At first glance, it may look like just another commemorative coin, perhaps one that has passed through hundreds of hands and been used in countless small transactions. But beneath that ordinary surface lies a remarkable history and an extraordinary market value. This coin was minted in 2003 to celebrate and recognize the vital contributions of volunteers across Australia, people who dedicate their time and energy to communities, charities, and countless other organizations. The Royal Australian Mint produced this design to highlight the importance of volunteerism, and it quickly became part of the everyday coinage that Australians used daily. But what makes this particular large date version so special is its rarity and its hidden numismatic secrets. The design itself was striking for its time. On the reverse of the coin, created by designer Wojciech Pietranek, we see a stylized depiction of people linking hands in unity, symbolizing the spirit of community and volunteerism. Around the outer edges, the inscriptions read, International Year of Volunteers 2001, though the coin itself was struck and circulated in 2003. On the obverse, of course, sits the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Ian Rank Broadley, which was standard for coins of that era. Yet within the details lies the key, the large date variety. While most coins struck have a standard date size, a small number of 2003 volunteer coins were minted with a noticeably larger date. This detail, overlooked by millions of Australians who used these coins every day, has made the large date version extremely scarce and sought after. Collectors thrive on varieties like this, and when the error or variation is combined with a limited mintage, the value skyrockets. The mintage of the Volunteers 50-cent coin was relatively high compared to some rarer commemoratives, but the large date variety represents only a fraction of that overall production. Precise figures are debated among numismatists, with estimates suggesting that only a tiny percentage of the total coins struck bore the larger date, making it a true variety treasure. When circulated and dirty, the coin still retains its immense appeal, because what matters most is not its shine, but its identity as a rare variety. The dirt and wear tell a story, that this coin passed unnoticed for years, hiding its true value until someone with a sharp eye recognized it. The collector interest in the 2003 large date Volunteers coin has grown steadily over the years. Initially, when people began to notice the difference in the date size, demand came mostly from Australian collectors who specialized in decimal coinage varieties. But as word spread internationally, more and more numismatists realized the significance of this piece. At auctions today, even in circulated and dirty condition, these coins command extraordinary prices. In fact, the highest recorded hammer prices have stunned even seasoned collectors. Where once a 50-cent piece might have bought you a small snack, this coin in today's auction market can bring in over $50,000. That's right, even in circulated and dirty condition, the rarity and variety of the large date Volunteers coin makes it worth over $50,000 to the right collector. Some private sales have even whispered of higher amounts, with deep-pocketed buyers determined to add this elusive piece to their collections at any cost. Error. Coins and varieties like this are especially intriguing because they remind us of the human and mechanical factors at play in minting. Whether it was an intentional design choice that saw a limited number of large dates produced, or a variation created by minting equipment, the result is the same: an extraordinary coin that has escaped the ordinary. The fact that many of these coins have been circulated makes them even more fascinating. They are pieces of history that were hiding in plain sight. Collectors love the chase, and the 2003 Volunteers Large Date provides one of the most rewarding hunts in modern Australian numismatics. Imagine holding a dirty, worn coin in your hand, one that most people would overlook as just spare change. And then imagine realizing that the coin could sell for over $50,000 at auction. That is the magic of numismatics. That is why collectors obsess over varieties, why they study the tiniest details, and why coins like the 2003 Large Date Volunteers piece are so celebrated. Its combination of historical context, unique design, variety rarity, and market demand has elevated it into the category of one of the most expensive Australian 50-cent coins in history. Now let us move on to the next coin in today's exploration, another piece that proves just how valuable 50-cent coins can become. This time we are looking at the Australia 50 cents 2001 Large Date coin in circulated fine condition. At first, you might think, what is so special about a 50-cent coin from 2001? After all, 2001 saw many commemorative issues, especially because it marked the centenary of Federation, one of the most important events in Australian history. That year produced a variety of designs celebrating states and territories, as well as the general centenary of Federation coin. And while millions of these were produced, the large date variation of the 2001 issue is one that stands apart. The historical context of the 2001 centenary of Federation coins cannot be understated. Australia was celebrating 100 years since the 6 colonies, federated to form the Commonwealth of Australia in 1901. The commemorative coins released that year served not only as circulating currency but also as educational pieces, reminding Australians of their shared national identity. The designs were diverse, colorful when issued in collector sets, and deeply symbolic. For the general circulation 50-cent coin, the reverse featured a design by Vladimir Gottwald, showing a stylized map of Australia, surrounded by the Federation Star, with the Southern Cross and national flora. It was a proud and bold design, perfectly suited for the centenary celebrations. And on the obverse, once again, was the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Ian Rank Broadley. But among these 2001 issues, the large date variation is the true treasure. While most coins carried a standard-sized date, a small number were struck with a noticeably larger date font, creating a significant variety. To the average person, this difference may seem trivial, but to numismatists, such variations are golden opportunities. They tell us about the minting process, about the small changes and adjustments that sometimes occur, and they create scarcity that drives collector demand to extraordinary levels. The large date version of the 2001 50-cent coin is one of the scarcest and most desired decimal coin varieties in Australia. The Irviharetites, mintage numbers for the 2001 Federation 50-cent coin overall were quite high, as millions were produced for circulation. But, once again, the large date version represents a fraction of that total. Exact figures remain uncertain, but collectors agree that surviving examples are extremely rare. And when found in circulated condition, even with signs of wear, they are still worth enormous amounts because the variety itself is what matters most. Fine condition may mean the coin has been handled, its details slightly softened, but it still retains enough clarity to display the larger date, which is the defining feature. In terms of collector interest, the 2001 large date coin has built a reputation similar to the 2003 large date Volunteers coin. Initially, only a small group of eagle-eyed collectors recognized the difference and began pulling them from circulation. Over time, as knowledge spread, demand skyrocketed. Today, these coins are the subject of fierce bidding wars at major auctions, with prices regularly exceeding $50,000, depending on condition. Even in circulated fine condition, examples have sold for more than $55,000, with some auctions pushing prices even higher due to competition among collectors. This value is astonishing when you consider the coin's face value is only 50 cents, making it a true testament to how varieties and errors can transform ordinary currency into treasures. Design features also add to the appeal of this coin. The Federation design is not only historically important, but also visually compelling, combining national symbolism with clean, modern style. The large date variety enhances that, creating a visual oddity that immediately distinguishes it once you know what to look for. Errors and varieties in commemorative coins are often more attractive to collectors because they combine two layers of desirability: the significance of the commemorative event itself and the rarity of the minting anomaly. The 2001 large date coin perfectly exemplifies this combination, making it one of the crown jewels of modern Australian numismatics. The market for these coins continues to grow. Every time one comes to auction, there is excitement and anticipation. Collectors and investors alike recognize that opportunities to acquire such a rare piece are few and far between. Private sales, often behind closed doors, have confirmed that some buyers are willing to pay well beyond public auction prices to secure these coins for their collections. And the fact that circulated fine examples are still reaching values of over $55,000 proves just how strong the demand really is. In many ways, the story of the 2001 large-date 50-cent coin is similar to the 2003 large-date Volunteers coin. Both are ordinary commemoratives on the surface, released in large numbers, but with tiny variations that turned them into rarities. Both slipped through circulation largely unnoticed until collectors realized what they were seeing. And both have achieved extraordinary auction values that make them among the most expensive Australian 50-cent coins in history. But each coin has its own unique context, its own place in history, and its own appeal to collectors. The 2003 coin honors the selfless spirit of volunteers, while the 2001 coin celebrates a century of national unity. Together, they represent the power of coinage to tell stories, to commemorate, and to surprise us with hidden treasures. Next up, we will journey into the South Pacific to uncover the story behind the most expensive Fiji 50 cents coin from the year 1994, a coin with a large date design preserved in uncirculated condition, and now fetching staggering prices in the tens of thousands of dollars. To the untrained eye, this coin might look like just another piece of modern circulating currency, but to collectors, it is a masterpiece of numismatic history, a symbol of rarity, and a reminder of how something seemingly ordinary can transform into something extraordinary. The Fiji 50 cents of 1994 holds a unique position in numismatics because Fiji's coinage is already less widely encountered than coins from larger economies. With Fiji being a small island nation in the Pacific, its coins were minted in smaller numbers compared to the huge mintages of the United States, Australia, or the United Kingdom. The 1994 50 cents coin with a large date is especially interesting, not only because of its relatively small mintage, but also because of the stylistic details that distinguish it. Collectors instantly notice the large, bold date on the reverse, a feature that was slightly adjusted in other years. It may seem like a minor detail, but in numismatics, such small design differences are often the spark that ignites collector demand and drives prices to extraordinary levels. The historical context of this coin adds depth to its appeal. Fiji, in the early 1990s, was transitioning politically and economically. The coinage of the time carried symbols of national identity that resonated strongly with its citizens and symbolized a continuation of sovereignty in the post-colonial era. The 50 cents denomination was important for everyday commerce, widely used in transactions and often worn down quickly due to circulation. This is exactly what makes an uncirculated example from 1994 so incredibly rare. To find a specimen that has survived untouched, with its mint luster intact, is like finding a time capsule from that exact year, sealed away against the wear and tear of daily life. Design-wise, the coin is elegant yet practical. Fiji's 50-cent pieces typically feature native themes, maritime imagery, or designs connected to local heritage. The 1994 version continued this theme, and with the large date variety, it immediately stood apart. The engraving quality, the shape of the numerals, and the overall clean strike are noticeable to collectors, making this coin a gem for anyone who manages to secure it. The reverse side with the date has been noted by auction houses as one of the clearest examples of Fijian coinage artistry of the 1990s. As for mintage numbers, while exact figures for 1994 are modest by global standards, estimates suggest that only a few 100,000 were struck, and even fewer survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. The survival rate is what matters most in today's collector market. Out of the original mintage, a majority went into circulation where they were exposed to humidity, tropical climate, scratches, dents, and constant handling. Today, only a tiny fraction remain uncirculated, and among those, only a handful are graded at the highest levels by professional grading services. Errors on this coin also add a fascinating layer. Some reported specimens display striking anomalies like off-center strikes or weak edges, though these are exceedingly scarce. If you are lucky enough to have both the 1994 large-date uncirculated coin and one with a mint error, you could easily be sitting on a treasure that commands even more attention at auctions. Collectors are especially drawn to error coins because they combine rarity with uniqueness. Each error coin is essentially one of a kind. Now let's talk about the market value. Atudi fei de fis tanturedui, which is where the story becomes almost unbelievable. In recent high-profile auctions, the Fiji 50 cents 1994 large date in uncirculated condition has fetched upwards of $50,000, and in some cases, even more depending on the coin's grade and eye appeal. Collectors worldwide, not just in Fiji or the Pacific, have chased after this coin because it represents a crossroads of rarity, design beauty, and international desirability. The market has shown that serious numismatists are willing to pay premiums that far exceed expectations. A coin originally worth less than $1 has transformed into a numismatic masterpiece worth $50,000 or more. This massive jump in value can be attributed to several factors. First, the global nature of coin collecting has expanded. Thanks to the internet and auction houses that cater to collectors worldwide, coins from smaller nations like Fiji are no longer overlooked. Second, the increased interest in varieties, like the large date, has educated collectors to look for details that were once ignored. Third, the preservation of coins in uncirculated condition has become an obsession among high-level collectors, and any coin from a tropical climate that survives perfectly is treated like a miracle. Collector interest continues to rise, and demand consistently outpaces supply. Auction houses have reported bidding wars between private collectors and institutional buyers who want to secure one of these coins for museum-quality collections. The psychology of the market is also important. Once a coin breaks a price barrier, like hitting $50,000, it establishes a new benchmark. Collectors believe the next sale could go higher, so they are willing to pay premiums to secure an example now rather than waiting and risking paying even more later. For anyone who thinks they might own a Fiji 50 cents coin from 1994, it is crucial to examine the date closely. If you see the large date variety, and if the coin appears uncirculated with no signs of wear, you could be holding something worth tens of thousands. Professional grading is highly recommended, as auction buyers place the greatest confidence in coins certified by services like PCGS or NGC, so The story of the 1994 Fiji 50 cents large date coin in uncirculated condition is not just about money. It is about history, art, preservation, and the way collectors assign value to rarity. It is a shining example of how something small can carry enormous worth, and it reminds us that treasures are often hiding in plain sight.